Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and our Board of Directors, we want to thank you for joining us today for our conversation with Robert Kaplan, the President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. Mr. Kaplan, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, let's get started first of all. For folks, especially those who are young leaders in the university, et cetera, a quick recap of the magnitude and importance of the Federal Reserve Bank.
Well, there are 12 Federal Reserve districts in the United States. We're the 11th district. We have about 1,300 employees. You mentioned our Houston branch and Darren Peschel, but we've got a branch in Houston, San Antonio, and El Paso. And what we do, we supervise, we oversee all banks in throughout the United States. We conduct payment services throughout the United States. If you send a wire or electronic transfer, the Fed is an operator of that, and we oversee those markets. We have a big cash operation, big vaults, and cash distribution, which is still very critical. And what we're known for, probably more than anything else, though, is we have a very big economics and research department in this district and through all the Federal Reserve districts. And we meet 8 times a year, every 6 weeks, 8 times a year formally, and that's called the Federal Open Market Committee. And through that Federal Open Market Committee, we set monetary policy for the United States.
Well, thank you for that update. And everyone wants to know a little bit more about the economy, of course. Everyone is wondering what you are seeing and what you can provide to them in terms of information as it relates to the economy.
So here's what's been going on this year. As everyone knows painfully well, we had a severe contraction in the second quarter, probably about 32% annualized. As bad as that was, though, the economy probably bottomed out in April. It was a very severe but short downturn. We began to grow again in May. We began to grow again in June. That growth rebound probably stalled out a bit in mid-June with the resurgence of the virus. That stalling out probably lasted until August. This is nationwide I'm referring to.
Yeah.
And we probably saw a reacceleration after August. With all those fits and starts, it's our best judgment that third quarter GDP in the United States will rebound and grow by about 30% annualized. So decline of 32%, rebound of 30%. And we believe in the fourth quarter this year, we will have very healthy growth, probably between 6 and 8%. We'll likely end the year with an unemployment rate in the United States, something we believe between 7 and 7.5%. And for the year, the U.S. economy, our best estimate right now is the U.S. economy will likely have contracted by about 2.5%. Okay. We think growth in 2021, though, will continue to be strong. And our estimate right now is GDP growth will be in the neighborhood of 3.5% next year. That's above trend growth, and we'll continue to grind down the unemployment rate.
You, like many, have been a big proponent of wearing masks, social distancing, etc. What are your thoughts as it relates to the potential of closing down once again Texas and perhaps seeing what that impact will have on our economy?
So the issue with closing down, obviously, if it's necessary where the healthcare system is being overrun, states and cities may not have a lot of choice in it. But I've been pretty vocal. I think it's the kind of thing where there's certain high-risk activities you want to curtail, and you want to limit density indoors and those kinds of things. But we saw in March and April the devastating effect of a lockdown, where you just lock down everything. And so one of the reasons why I've been so vocal about wearing a mask is talking to epidemiologists. I'm convinced, and they're convinced, that if everyone wore a mask, it wouldn't eliminate this problem, but we would substantially mute the transmission of this disease. And that is a far better alternative, obviously, than the hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions, that would be lost if we're forced to do broad lockdown.
Yes, and let's talk about the Houston area. How are we faring from the economy versus the rest of the country?
So obviously Houston is, on the one hand, is disproportionately affected by weakness in the oil sector. The oil sector, may surprise people to know, is basically down to about 8% of the state's GDP. Okay, and so it's the story of Texas is one of diversification and migration of people and firms to the state. Our population growth statewide has outstripped the nation, and that's been going on for many, many years. And I think that trend is going to continue. So while challenges in the oil industry obviously are a headwind, there isn't 2 or 3 days that go by where I don't talk to somebody who runs a big business in the East Coast, West Coast, or in the upper Midwest who isn't thinking about moving here. And a lot of them have made the decision they are moving here. So I think Houston, as well as Dallas, obviously Austin, to some extent San Antonio, the whole state is gonna be benefited by this move to more migration of people and firms here and increasing diversification of our business base. So we can tolerate and manage through weakness in the oil sector and still grow and still do better than the country.
Well, speaking about growth, you talked earlier about the PPP program and what that did for families and others. We know there's another stimulus package on the table. Let's talk a little bit about the Main Street lending program and what you think that has done and will continue to do for our region.
So of all the programs we've done, Main Street is the most challenging, and we probably had a good idea it would be, and that we've done all these so-called 13-3 programs to help stabilize market function. And I think they've been very effective by and large, and that they've improved flows into private markets. We have record muni issuance, we have record corporate bond issuance, and it's being done away from the Fed. So we're a backstop and a penalty rate, and I think that's a healthy outcome. The PPP, although it had issues, has been effective. The Main Street program, let me tell you why it's been challenging. And a number of your bankers on this can attest to this. If you were a good credit when the pandemic started, you were able to go to your bank and get a loan. If you were a weaker credit, you probably weren't able to get a loan. The Main Street program has still tough EBITDA and other credit requirements. And the bank has to want to make the loan because they have to own 5% of the loan. And a number of bankers have said to me, if I have a good client or a new customer who comes to me and wants a loan and it's a good loan and good credit, I'd rather keep more than 5% of it. I want to do it away from Main Street. And so what's happening is unless the credit terms of Main Street are eased to where we, and this is really a Treasury decision and congressional decision, if we need to be willing to accept greater loan losses, it's going to be one of these things. It's not that companies aren't able to get loans, and small companies, they're getting loans, but why would you use this program? And a lot of the companies that want to use it are weaker credits or would rather do some type of, asset back, maybe they're hotels. Their EBITDA criteria don't really meet this. They need to use alternative standards. And this has been challenging to make them eligible for this program.
And that's why the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has worked very closely with our local, state, county elected officials and those who represent us in Washington, D.C., because they have the power to make the decisions on, what sectors and how much money they're going to put back into the economy to support, especially those small businesses that perhaps missed that first round of PPP money for a variety of reasons. And we just want to reiterate that we are so thankful to our local city and county elected officials who stepped up to the plate, Mr. Kaplan, and provided additional millions of dollars, whether it was for rent relief or for business loans that were either forgiven, et cetera, and make the process simple and easy. So we want to thank them for that. And I know they are having conversations about whether or not they can inject even more city and county funding to our region. So that all helps. It makes a difference. We're asking everyone on this call, do everything that you can to help advocate with your elected officials, especially those who are in Washington, D.C., to support the funding to keep our economy going and growing. Mr. Kaplan, please, anything else that we've not talked about that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so one of the other, so we talked about small business. You just talked about aid to small business. That's very critical. Another round of the PPP, I think, would be very welcome, and helping people get through this. But the other thing we're going to need to be talking about, and I know you are in Houston, is there's a lot of these workers I just talked about with high school educations and less will not have jobs to go back to. And because technology and technology-enabled disruption and remote work has accelerated, many of them will need to get retrained to get into new jobs. And so we spent a lot of time here at the Dallas Fed, and I know we spent a lot of time in Houston with the Greater Houston Partnership and others. There's going to have to be dramatic investment in beefed up skills training. There will be a premium on improving early childhood literacy, expanding pre-K from half day to full day, improving educational attainment, access to health, to childcare, I should say, is going to be a big issue. We talked about relating to women. All those areas will be essential as we go through this and we come out of it. Access to Wi-Fi in key areas that don't have it. Those are going to be key structural areas that are going to get people back to work faster and will help make sure we grow faster as we come out of this.
And all of those were already issues before COVID. Now they are just magnified and hopefully getting the sense of urgency they merit and deserve so we can in fact move forward. And we'd like to say is that in Houston, as Hispanics go, so goes Houston, because we represent over 42% of the population in our area, and we also represent over 53 billion, that is with a B, of consumer spending in the Houston region. And so we want to thank you for joining us today to provide an update and the state of the economy. We welcome your return to our program here and with our members.
Thank you, Laura, and great to talk with you, and thanks for all that you're doing.
Absolutely. For everyone who's joining us, a friendly reminder, we have videos from SBA. We also have videos from the Workforce Commission and a lot of resources on our website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com. Also on our YouTube channel, we have recorded messages, etc. There is a lot of help out there. Go forward, take a look at it, visit our website for resources and information. And remember, please wear your mask and make sure you vote. Get out and vote. Thank you, Robert Kaplan. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you,
Have
Laura.
a great day. Welcome, Commissioner.
Hey, good to be with you. Always enjoy seeing you. Hope you're staying safe.
Again, as mentioned, we're just happy to have you joining us and for all the work that you guys are doing, but especially something that is at the heart of business, and that has been the disparity study. Talk to us a little bit about the disparity study conducted at Harris County.
Well, the city of Houston did a disparity study many years ago, and they put a program in place so that they could measure how successful the city was being in helping minority and women-owned businesses get a piece of the pie, break into the economic business class in government. We had not done that at the county level. And I'm glad that we were able to do the study. It took 2 years to conduct the study, about $650,000. I think we were all surprised the level of participation for our minority-owned and women-owned businesses was so low, about 9%. And the capacity to do the work is about 35%. Now, that doesn't mean that minorities and women would automatically get 35% of the business. That would come across as a quota program, but clearly more than the 9% they were doing. So we're putting a program in place. We hired Colette Holt and associates to come up with some recommendations. We're going to try and implement the best things from what the city has done over the years, look at what the state has done, look around the country.
Yes.
One benefit of coming late is you get to pull the best experiences from around the country. I think it's going to create a lot of opportunities for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our other minority and women-owned businesses in this region to do better.
Yes, and often that which gets measured gets the attention and focus. And so we appreciate that. And again, it's an opportunity to level that playing field, knowing that Houston, as large as it is, and given the sheer demographics, that there's always opportunity for improvement. So thank you for that. Speaking of demographics.
You helped a lot, and I should have mentioned that, Dr. Murillo, to come out and speak out for that. It was not easy to do. We know that there's still vestiges of discrimination. It had been very much an insider game. And it's just time to stop that. And I think everybody realizes that.
Well, and speaking of that, I think it's important now to transition over to something that we absolutely need to talk about, and that is disparities in health and healthcare and racism, quite frankly, to be honest, in terms of what is occurring and needs to be taken care of and paid attention to. We have so many people who are suffering and do not have health insurance, do not have the resources. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing in that space.
Well, we declared racism a public health crisis in Harris County. And I'm glad that that passed. And we documented a number of governmental policies and historical precedents that have helped put us where we are in terms of COVID. Our Hispanic numbers are just off the charts. It's scary. Those numbers are so high. The African-American numbers are bad as well, but those Hispanic numbers in particular are bad. A lot of that, I think, is because we have a large immigrant community. We have such a large percentage of people who are uninsured. A lot of the anti-immigrant fervor out there has people afraid. I think by declaring racism a public health crisis, it lets us focus in on policies to try and help those communities.
Yes, well, we appreciate that. And certainly we can't have an interview without talking about voting. And we know that given all of the climate that we are seeing in terms of politics in our country, a lot of people are just disconnecting, disenfranchised. However, we know this year, critical that we get out to vote. And the county's put together a lot of different measures to make sure that votes are counted and that there are additional polling places. But why? Tell us, why do people choose not to vote?
Well, in our state, the turnout is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60% normally. So that means about 40% of the people who are eligible to vote don't vote. But we are hoping that with the $27 million that Commissioners Court gave to our interim clerk, we're doing everything we can to make it safe. So we're encouraging people, put together a plan, go out and vote. It matters. Vote for whichever party, whoever you want to vote for. Just go and vote.
Yes, it does. Well, Commissioner, thank you so much for all you do and always being a great true friend to the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of our Board of Directors and staff, we want to thank you for joining us here on KHOU 11. Joining us today, none other than our chairman of the board for 2020. And what a year to be chairman of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He's an entrepreneur, very family-oriented man, and also a great community leader, not just locally, but also internationally. So we want to hear a little bit about his story and his company, Petra Oil, who has transformed the way they operate and do things given this COVID pandemic. Arnold, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me. And for sure, what a year.
Yes, absolutely. But you know what? I'd like to always look at the upside to this. And so how can we leave this pandemic better with lessons, with tools for whatever's to come? And certainly your company has been one that pivoted, that looked at what was out there versus shutting its doors down and just, accepting that perhaps your sales or your inventory and was going to be, hit hard. Instead, you pivoted and you embraced it and you found an opportunity. So first, let's talk about Petra Oil and what that is and what you do, and then what you did post-COVID.
Sure. So Petra Oil Company is an automotive chemical company. I've been in this line of business for almost 29 years. Petra's been around for 10 years. We make automotive chemicals. So every fluid, every liquid that goes in your car, inside or out, we make. So fluids for your engine, transmission, et cetera, and products to make the car pretty. That's what we make in Petra. So we make automotive chemicals. We sell to the automotive industry. When this happened, which actually this really hit about a week after our 10th year celebration that you were part of, and so graciously, were one of our speakers. Right after that, around mid-March, this is when this whole thing started breaking, and we realized at that point that we needed to make a pivot, as I think a lot of companies looked and said, okay, what can we do to survive, and what can we do to help out in this crisis? And we got into the hand sanitizer business, and we got into the disinfectant business, and we learned a lot about it, got our FDA approvals and got our EPA approvals, and got all of our licenses to be able to do hand sanitizer, both in liquid and gel form, and then disinfectant, which is a product that actually kills corona as well. So today, from the automotive world to the PPE world, within a few months, 20% of our business is all these PPE products. And not only selling to the automotive industry, we're selling to counties, to hospitals, to school districts, to churches. So we've moved out of the automotive side and actually broadened our customer base with these new types of products. But pivoting was an important part of it.
So we know there are many entrepreneurs who are watching this program and they've suffered, businesses have closed. What advice do you have to those entrepreneurs?
To think out of the box, right? So if we would have just stuck in our realm, if we would have said, look, this is all we do, and no matter what the crisis is, this is all we're going to do, God knows what would have happened, right? We would have suffered through this and it just wouldn't have been pretty. But if you allow yourself to think out of the box and be a little bit vulnerable, right? Because we didn't know anything about the hand sanitizer business, but we got into it and quickly learned it. I think every entrepreneur out there, an individual person has to say, okay, look, even if this is what I've done for 50 years, I'm going to do something that I've never thought before because I need to survive and go out and do it. I really, restaurants obviously are businesses that have been really hurt. Bars have been really, really hurt. But I'm always impressed when I see some of these owners. I saw a few weeks ago some of these bar owners that were getting their food licenses and opening outdoor eating, outdoor patio, right? So they were usually in the bar business, never got in the food business. Everything was inside, never outside, but they realized that it is what it is and they got to pivot. And so I think that when you look around and look at what can I do to keep surviving, you'll find things out of your comfort zone, but you may be surprised what happens.
Yes, and at the end of the day, and a lot of it is just, trying to remain upbeat, trying to make positive, trying to, say, okay, one day at a time, but at the same time planning for the future and trying to deal with what is unknown. And for entrepreneurs, that entrepreneurial spirit is going to really drive them. And for others, unfortunately, they may have to move into jobs that are not jobs where they are the proprietor. And so we know they're dealing with a lot. We ask people to visit our website. We have a lot of resources there, SBA that's provided, seminars and workshops, Texas Workforce Commission. So if you're watching us and you need some help, please go to our chamber website. But Arnold Garcia is truly someone we are so proud of as an entrepreneur, as a community leader. And to you and your team, congratulations. Keep up the good work. And we look forward to joining and seeing you guys very soon.
Yeah, likewise. So let me tell you, thank you for everything you've done, because you've also been out there and encouraging people and showing different opportunities and helping them to find different, jobs and just encouraging them. And that's the right thing to do. And we're really proud of you as well.
Well, thank you so much. We've got a great team, and to all of our board of directors, looking forward to seeing you guys in person very soon. Thanks again, Arnold. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're so happy to have you joining us today, and with us, no other than the Dean over at the University of Houston, Downtown Maryland Davies School of Business, Chuck Engler. Dean, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, we see that UHD logo standing proud in the heart of downtown, and certainly like so many universities, Dean, a lot of transitioning and trying to keep students, faculty, staff safe. And a lot of that means that, times have changed and we've got to figure out how to work through all of this. From your perspective, Dean, how can we make all of this virtual working from home, function and effective?
Well, we've gone through a lot of phases right now and working from home. Initially, it was just a shock to everyone. Oh, everybody go work from home. And there was a little startup cost, but then people, took off and started really doing well in most cases and were very productive. But over time, what's been a problem is relationships fade. When you're not speaking to people every day and not seeing them, you kind of lose your gestalt of communications with them. And so, what I'm finding is that communication is the key. Yeah, the home work environment matters too, but that's for individuals to manage. But communication is really key. We need to keep up with the staff and just our colleagues with video chats and conversations, and having regular scheduled communications is critical to maintaining those relationships and just saying, hey, what about this? What about that? And it really enhances productivity. In our college here, the Maryland Davies College of Business, we had enrollment up 18% for our undergraduates this semester, where other schools have been struggling. And that's largely because during this, okay, we went home, we worked, and we kept our eye on the ball. We said, yes, okay, we have to deal with COVID, but we didn't obsess over it. You know, we didn't think that's defining our lives. We kept our eye on what we're doing. And so we kept working from home, and while many other schools are just lost at this time, and you'll read articles about many colleges struggling with enrollment, we grew very strongly. It's the largest growth we've ever had happen during COVID. So I can't enforce enough the value of communications.
And certainly I think that as you look at UH downtown, one of the upsides to this is that more people may have decided they need to go back and get that MBA and sharpen those skills and become more professional and take courses that are going to, at the end of this pandemic, make them stronger, let them leave this pandemic with a new set of skills.
Yes, our MBA enrollment was up about 4% this year, but that's still a significant growth because we're already the largest in Texas. Yeah. And so we're very proud of that program and working hard to make it better. Going online has been a benefit for that program because I think it's given the students more options, because working professionals can't always show up at 6 o'clock at night. And so, by going online, we've broadened our market, and I think it's really great for the students.
Yeah, I think some of these lessons we will keep, and it's been fascinating to see the positive side of all of this, correct? And that I think that even once we are able to get out in the free world, I do believe that some of the things that we're doing today we shall keep, and that they may, in fact, make us better. Yeah,
when I speak to people at school right now, we're estimating next summer, when we've gotten past most of this, that we'll probably be around 50-50 online and in person again, because online is going to stay here. Now that we've developed it and the students like it, it's going to stay. We'll have in person for other people who enjoy that more, and it's going to be a very healthy environment, I think.
And what is the faculty, how are the faculty and staff responding? I'm thinking of folks such as the people who are working in, let's say, student services, that would, have face-to-face, if people just walk over to their offices. How is that working out?
And the student advisors are doing very well with they're doing chats, online chats, and they're doing lots of phone calls, and they're working from home, and they're doing great. So that's working out very well. I think it's less stress than ever. But the point is, they have to sit down and put in the time and keep their appointments, keep up on their emails, respond to emails within, a certain period of time. And, if they keep those rules and keep a discipline, they're doing very well.
Well, that's great. What else should we know about the University of Houston downtown as we wrap up our interview here, Dean?
Well, I think we were the only Hispanic serving, university here in the area, classified Hispanic serving by the government. And we are really growing, and we're very, very student focused here. I think that makes a difference. That, our emphasis on the students is what makes us stand out against any other university around here. And I think that's why we're growing.
Yes, and the diversity at UH downtown, unlike any other, and I believe second largest, here in the city of Houston, and a very unique and diverse student population with some incredible faculty and staff. And so we appreciate the partnership that you guys have with our chamber, and continued success to you and all the team over at UHD. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.